Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. We're here today with special guest, Gloria Treister, who's here to share with us Wellness 101, Simple Steps to Good Health. So what if good health could be easier to achieve than you ever thought? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Gloria Treister is a board-certified holistic health practitioner and coach, EMCC certified executive and business coach, and a corporate and personal wellness consultant with more than 40 years in health and wellness. After 23 years in physical therapy, she founded Wellness Evolution in 2023 and went on to author her best-selling book, Wellness 101, Simple Steps to Good Health, praised by experts and readers alike. Through innovative programs like Your Wellness, Your Way, she designs and leads customized, empowering wellness experiences for companies, individuals, and communities. As a U.S. ambassador for World Wellness Weekend, she inspires people to turn small actions into lasting vitality. Motivated by her belief since the late 1980s that we should not wait until health is broken to fix it, Gloria has dedicated her career to equipping people with clear, practical knowledge and innovative tools to feel their best every day and stay well longer. So welcome to the show, Gloria Treister.
Thanks, Marianne. Glad to be here.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about the work that you're doing. I know we've had such a great time last time talking about World Wellness Weekend. Can you share with us what inspired you to write Wellness 101?
I decided to write Wellness 101 to kind of stop the confusion. We live in a world today where there's so much information out there that people are getting confused. An example of that would be, let's say you want to know if you should eat eggs and you go on the internet. You can find many answers to that question, all conflicting. Yes, you can. No, just eat the yolks. No, just eat the whites. Only have this many a week. And it's so confusing that people will just at times throw up their hands and say, I think I'll just go eat a bag of chips because it's just too confusing. I wanted to make wellness simple. It actually started out as handouts for a corporate wellness program that I was working on. We were trying to teach people different aspects of healthy living and decided that we wanted to make it super, super simple and implementable. And so the book actually grew out of these handouts that we used for our wellness program.
Well, what a great story that is. And so at what point did you decide, hey, we're going to expand this into this full guide for everybody?
Well, so many people participated in this corporate program, and the feedback we were getting on the handouts were great. We decided very early on when we made the handouts that they would be pleasant to look at, because who wants to read a full page of text about wellness? We broke them up with really beautiful graphics, with little tips, at the bottom of the page, on the side, different motivational sayings, and made it really, really easy to look at and to read and to implement. And so people started saying, I really love this. Can I get a copy for my brother? Can I get a copy for my mother? And so it occurred to me that maybe there was a book here that this could grow into. And so I spent many years, actually 7 of them, working on this book and growing it into something that could be a reliable reference book for people who are interested in improving their lives and their healthy longevity, not just their longevity.
In your book, you call Wellness 101 an empowerment guide. What does becoming the CEO of your own health mean to you personally?
I think for so long, and I've been in healthcare now for 44 years, it's a long time. Over the years, we kind of gave up our ownership of our own health and turned it over to doctors and pharmaceuticals and all these different things. And we're now realizing that that strategy really doesn't work for us. People are sicker than ever. They're not really sure how to approach their health. Doctors have less and less time to spend with each of us when we go in to see them. And so it's become more and more important that we know how to ask the right questions, how to challenge certain advice that's being given to us. Not that the doctors don't care, because they do, but just because of the economics of healthcare these days and the proliferation of so many medications that we jump to a med before we actually educate on lifestyle. You know, Marianne, the word doctor is a direct derivative of the word docere, the Latin word docere, which means to teach. Doctors were meant to teach, but they just don't have the time now. And so I felt very strongly that a book that really made it easy for you to learn how to eat right, how to exercise, how to look for toxic chemicals, what your lab tests mean, how to take supplements properly, just wasn't, that information didn't seem to be out there. And so I decided to go ahead and try to take a stab at doing that myself.
Well, you've done it so masterfully in your book, and it's one of the things I really appreciate about it because you really do address so many things. And we started this conversation off talking about the conflicting advice that we get, the health advice, especially online. There's so much. So, how do we cut through all the noise to really determine what's accurate, what's true?
Well, it's hard to do that. And even with AI, although it's very helpful, it's hard because different people have different approaches. And I think what's very distinguishable about Wellness 101 is that it is written from a functional medicine approach. Now, what do I mean by that? What is a functional medicine approach? In our current medical system, we look for symptoms and then we try to squash them with a medication, kind of a top down approach. You wait until you're sick and then you try to fix it. Whereas with a functional medicine approach, we're using a bottom up approach. So, in other words, you're saying, oh, you have a symptom? Why do you have that symptom? Where is that symptom coming from? And how do we stop it before it gets to the point where it's a fully blown health problem or a disease? And so teaching people the basics, which is what this book covers, really helps people lay a foundation so that when something does, quote unquote, break, we know how to address it ourselves and are empowered to do that ourselves. And that when we do go to a doctor, we say, well, I've done this, I'm eating this way, I'm doing this, and give them the opportunity to then help layer on for us a strategy to conquer whatever it is that's ailing us and then to go forward with a healthy life.
In your book, you really dive into epigenetics very early. Can you share about that with us and what that is?
Yes, I think so often people feel like they're doomed by their genetics. I've heard people say, well, my mother had diabetes, my sister has diabetes, my cousin has diabetes. So no matter what I do, I'm going to have diabetes. And the truth of the matter is that 80% of your genes are fully modifiable through lifestyle. So, what does that mean? It means that many, many of the chronic illnesses that we suffer from today are actually modifiable through lifestyle. So the word epigenetics means above genetics. What can you do to actually see what genes get expressed? And that's a functional medicine term. You may have the gene to get diabetes, but whether or not you get it may largely be dependent on how you're actually living your life. What are you doing to prevent it? And what can you do to prevent it? Some things, no matter what you do, like I said, it's 80%. So 20% of the time, you may not be able to impact a gene that may want to fully express itself. But other genes may be sitting in there, but unless you are living a lifestyle that allows them to fully blow into a disease, they may or may not. And so we have more control, I believe, than we think.
I think that's very empowering for people to hear that we can make these changes that would improve our health.
I believe so, 100%. And that is that functional medicine approach. And I think more and more people are learning that they do have power over their health, and we have to take our power back. That's really the message that I have here, but it's very simplified. I don't want to make it sound harder than it really is. It's pretty simple to stay well if you know what to do.
I like how in your book you talk about it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. Can you share the difference between the two with us?
Yeah, I think sometimes we deprive ourselves of things, but we really don't need to deprive ourselves. I think what we need to do is educate ourselves on how the foods that we're eating are impacting our health and realizing that there are smarter choices that can be made. It doesn't mean that you're eating things that don't taste good. Healthy food tastes good. And you can certainly have a treat now and then, and you can certainly swap certain things out, but you have to know how and how much. And I think that's where understanding what it takes to develop a healthy human, that knowledge can really take you far. And then you make adjustments based on your lifestyle and what you really love. But it shouldn't really be a diet. I hope people take away that being healthy doesn't mean you're depriving yourself of anything. And if anything, you're building a stronger foundation for better energy, less fatigue, better sleep, better skin, if that's what motivates you. It's whatever really motivates you, you know? I love trying to look young. If that's your motivation, then that is what you might want to go to when you're making choices during the day. I mean, we make something like 30,000 choices a day. So you decide your health future. And if you make the right choices, it'll take you further.
I like how you say that food is medicine, and we hear that often, but you add or the slowest form of poison. Can you share on that with us?
Absolutely. We eat a lot of processed foods, ultra processed foods that are really not food. They're foodless foods. And so we eating a lot of empty calories that are making us fat. They're making us feel sluggish. They're giving us problems like dementia down the road. They're clogging our arteries. And so if you're eating that, you may not feel like today after you ate some foodless food that, oh my God, I feel like crap. But over time, those things build up in our bodies. And I deal with that a lot in the chapter about toxic chemicals, because if you look at the ingredients of something that you're eating, often you'll find things in there that you can't even pronounce. And those are the things that are killing us slowly and robbing us of a healthy, vital, happy, productive life.
That's the truth. It's so interesting how the choices we make and what we eat, just the long term impact it has for us.
It does. And those toxics, some of the toxins, some of those things are forever chemicals. I write a weekly article, also called Wellness 101. I have a large number of subscribers through email and also through LinkedIn. And this week, I'm writing about plastics. And we don't think about a lot of the things that contain forever chemicals, but there are chemicals that stay in the environment and stay in our bodies. And unless we intentionally try to detox from them, they stay in there. And over time, they will affect you. An example I can give is something that happened to me. I was getting extremely tired every day around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like literally passing out, not like wanting to go take a nap, but passing out. And I was like, wow, what's wrong with me? And so I got tested. And today we are fortunate that we can get tested for so many things. You can be very data driven when it comes to your health. And that kind of slowed the process down as an aside to me finishing the book because I decided to write about lab testing, but and simplifying it. But I got tested and discovered that I had a toxic overload of lead in my system. Now, who would have thought that? But I grew up at a time where there was lead in paint. There's lead in pipes. It comes in our water. There's so many sources where you can pick up toxic chemicals that do affect your life. And they can stay in there unless it took me 4 months to detox from that. And it was a very structured detox. That's not something you can really do on your own. That's where you could use the help of a physician. But it helped me quite a bit. And so sometimes when people are feeling unwell and they're being offered a medication, rather than saying, where's the root cause of this problem? You might be getting some kind of a pill to help you sleep at night. And that's why they think you're falling asleep at 4 p.m. when the truth of the matter is it's a toxin that's making you feel fatigued.
Wow, that is just remarkable that you went through that, but it's interesting also, most people don't even know to ask their physicians to do a test for that.
They don't. And unfortunately, most allopathic physicians, and when I use that term allopathic, what it means is literally that it's a doctor that treats with medications and surgery only, which is what most of our medical doctors today are trained to do. And that's not a slight to them. There's certainly a place in your healthcare for medications at the right time. But there are other times where you need someone who truly understands the ramifications of micronutrients, for instance. Most doctors aren't testing for that. You need certain nutrients to run your body. In fact, in my book, I have 20 pages of charts. And by the way, the book is full of simple to read charts, but I have 20 charts detailing everything from ADHD to anxiety to depression, fatigue, sleep, weight management, showing that particular health problem at the center and then spokes coming off of it, showing you exactly what nutrients, micronutrients and macronutrients, so vitamins A, B, C, D, whatever, and then things like minerals and things like protein and carbohydrates, and showing exactly how they affect that particular medical diagnosis. So if you have depression and you go to that page, it will show you all the nutrients. And so you could maybe find a doctor, a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor who will test you to see what the nutrient content of that is in your system and see what you're lacking that may be causing that issue.
Well, I love how you have everything so mapped out, so it really makes it easy for people to start walking through what their health improvement can start looking like.
Totally. And to add on to that, that line of thinking, I have a chart. People that take medications oftentimes will have what we call side effects, right? And so you think, okay, well, what is a side effect? Let's get to the bottom of that. Many times, side effects are caused because certain medications block the absorption of certain nutrients. So, for instance, if you're on a cholesterol lowering, like a statin drug, it's supposed to help your heart theoretically, but it actually depletes CoQ10 from your body. CoQ10 is very important in your body for your muscles to function. And what is your heart? Your heart's a muscle. And so it needs CoQ10. I feel like doctors should be saying, I'm going to put you on a statin And I'm also going to have you take an additional 100 milligrams of CoQ10 a day to combat that so you don't have that side effect. So we really need to be aware. And I have 2 pages of charts in the book that name medications by name, by type, and by name. And it tells you exactly what nutrients those drugs can deplete. Doesn't mean they always do, but what they can deplete or what they cause your body to get rid of sooner and what symptoms can be caused by that to help you identify if you are taking a medication, what might be happening in your body as a result.
So interesting that you mentioned that because I was actually just watching a show about a cardiologist who was talking about statins and CoQ10 and the importance of using it. And basically, he's echoing what you're sharing here, which you've had this information for quite a bit of time, so it's not new information.
It's not. I've been seeking all this kind of information for many years. I learned about a gentleman by the name of Dr. Jeffrey Bland, and he's one of the people who gave a testimonial on my book, which made me extremely proud because he is the father of functional medicine. But I've been following him since the late 90s. I'll never forget, Marianne, I went to a conference where he was teaching. And I took a medical doctor with me and his wife, who was a nurse. I wanted them to come and hear Dr. Bland. And we went up to Michigan. I live in Cleveland. We went to Michigan to hear him. And all the way home, this doctor was saying to me, "Oh my God, I feel like I just got off the Starship Enterprise. You mean I can treat my patients with nutrition?" He was blown away and super excited. He couldn't wait to learn more. And this is where we're headed. We have now the ability to really personalize your health by doing personalized testing, by looking at what are your genetics, but also what is your body missing? What is your body looking for? Because there's no one else like you on the planet. Even if you have an identical twin, because of what you brought up earlier, Marianne, epigenetics, the way you're living your life, even identical twins are going to have different personalization when it comes to their health. And so we need to honor that and recognize that in ourselves.
I understood that it recently was talked about that most physicians only spend it's like 1 8-hour day talking about nutrition, and it's not something that they're taught. So, how important it is it that a physician's looking at that as a piece to incorporate in his practice?
Yeah, I wish they knew more. Some doctors are really going out there and trying to learn it themselves. I've made it my life's mission. When people ask me what I do, I love to say that I'm a student and a teacher. I love to learn new things and then teach it to other people. I think it's super important that we do that and try to help the people around us that we love and see if we can get them to spread the word. I I share a funny story. I was at a party with my husband, and there was a buffet table, and he was choosing all the junk on the table. And I said to him, "Put that down. You've picked up enough crappy food." And one of his friends walked over and said, "I heard that." And I thought, "Oh no, he's going to yell at me and tell me to leave my husband alone." Instead, he said to me, "I wish my wife would do that for me." And I think there's a good message there. I think even though sometimes I'm accused of being annoying, and I don't try to be, but it happens. You don't want to lecture people, but you do want to help them with good, solid information that can help them live a better life, to feel better, to have more energy for their families, for themselves, and for their employers. It's super important in the workplace. Employers should be promoting wellness to all of their employees. It makes for a happier workplace. And when people are happy, they're more productive. You know, when you feel better, you can do better.
It seems that so many people are struggling with sugar cravings or emotional eatings. What
Mhm.
practical tips would you suggest for them?
Yeah, I think knowing what your cravings are is really helpful. And I did write an article in the book. Just as an aside, the book is written in like 2 to 3 page, what I call articles. So it's real easy to get through a topic. You could literally pick the book up for 5 minutes a day and have something new to implement in your life. And I do have an article in there about cravings and what they mean and what your body could be missing. Because some people crave sugar and it's highly, highly addictive. Other people may crave salty things. And that tells you something about yourself as well. And I think if you find out what it is that you're craving and figure out what your body's looking for at that moment and substituting it, or maybe just figuring out a way to get a little bit of something, treat yourself every now and then, but understand that you just can't have that all the time. It isn't good for you. And that other things taste good too. It's just about trying new things too. I think we owe it to ourselves, and sometimes we think that that's deprivation, but it really isn't.
Well, you have so many wonderful recipes that people can really start using, and it gives all the nutritional facts. So I think that that's so important.
It is important and it can be fun. You can find a recipe and maybe encourage a friend to share a different recipe or call people and say, "What's your favorite healthy recipe? What do you like to eat?" And do a potluck every now and then and have people bring things that they've made that they've enjoyed. Exploring foods, exploring different ways to exercise. People say, well, how should I exercise? And it's like, just do what you enjoy doing. There's got to be something that you will do. If running was the only way to be healthy, I wouldn't be healthy. I don't enjoy running. Do I like walking? I do. I like cardio drumming. That's something I found that I love. Some people love yoga. Just keep exploring until you find something that lights you up, that makes you happy, knowing that you're doing something good for yourself. I love to end my articles with, be kind to your future self. What you do today is going to impact you later on. If you're young and healthy now and you think you can eat crap forever, trust me, you can't. It will catch up with you. So just be kind to your future self.
I think many people have talked about waking up and all of a sudden feeling pain first thing in the morning and looking back going, gosh, I've made a lot of decisions. I probably should have made different ones.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't want to live your life with regrets when you get older. Think about, it's a good idea to start with the end in mind. That was like one of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with the end in mind. What is your life about? What do you want to do through the years? And when you get older, I have grandchildren right now. I want the energy that when my grandsons want to play knee hockey on the floor, that I can play with them and we get rough and it's fun. And many people my age say, "Oh, I could never do that. I can't even walk up a flight of steps." Well, think about, do you want to travel the world when you retire, or do you want to be laying in a bed in a nursing home having someone change your diaper? That is not for me. It's not a life I sought out to live. And it's really, I don't think anyone really wants that, do they?
I'm sure they do not. I think if most people really understood the choices they make versus the consequences, they'd make different choices.
Exactly. I mean, we're living longer. People may say, well, people are living longer. Although, if you look at the statistics lately, we're kind of backsliding on that. We were living longer, but are we living healthy longer? And as we said earlier in this interview, Marianne, you make choices. I say make good choices for yourself. And learn how to take good care of yourself. I mean, if you're tired of feeling confused, you really don't know what it takes to live a healthy life, find a resource. Find a resource. If it's not my book, which I hope it is, then find another resource. Find someone that you trust. Listen to podcasts, listen to webinars. I probably am on 3 to 4 webinars a week, learning new things. Of course, my passion is health and well-being, so that's what I tend to listen to, but it could be anything that improves your life. Just get hungry for it and do it.
Oh my goodness, Gloria, you're such an inspiration. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, well, they can connect with me for sure on LinkedIn. My name's Gloria Treister, and it's spelled Treister. My book, Wellness 101 Simple Steps to Good Health, is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. My company is called Wellness Evolution, and I encourage anyone who has a wellness question. I love helping people. Feel free to reach out to me at gloria@wellnessevolution.com. I'd be happy to talk to you. And I'm a good triager. People, I may not be able to be the person that can help you, but I might know someone who can, whether it's an individual or a type of practitioner. Um, I have many, many certifications. I'm a education junkie, so I know a lot about a lot of things, and I'm happy to share that with anyone who's interested.
Well, Gloria, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Marianne. It was such a pleasure to speak with you today.
Well, thank you, Gloria. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your book, Wellness 101 Simple Steps to Good Health. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.